Yeah, sure. Jobs of Tomorrow is a career education program for middle and high school students with a specific focus on science, technology, engineering, and math. The mission of this program is to improve equity and diversity in STEM fields. And we do this by encouraging students from underrepresented groups to consider careers in STEM and see themselves as future leaders in these fields. Underrepresented groups include students of colors, girls, students from low income groups, students with disabilities, and yeah, etc. Sure. Um, I've always been interested in building things using my imagination. Ever since a kid, um, I really spent all my summers building robots or coding, and I was really drawn towards engineering and computer science electives in my middle school. And in middle school for science fair, I developed a smartphone application and a smart sensor to improve the treatment of amblyopia, which has affected me, a vision disorder, and that's affected me since childhood. And I've presented this project at regional, states, and national science fairs. And that's where I first noticed a low turnout of minority students in science. I became quite curious of why this phenomena was so. I read a lot of articles on the internet, and most of them said that students from low socioeconomic backgrounds in a middle school. And it was disheartening to learn that a dearth of role models, gender stereotyping, and poor access to STEM resources, and as well as a lack of exposure to STEM professions, were the primary reasons. This lack of equity really bothered me, and I wanted to do something to help these people. And that's where I got the idea of creating a program for underrepresented students that would expose them to various STEM careers. I only had the idea and I actually had to create the program. So I contacted Christina from Get Involved and I told her about my vision. She introduced me to design thinking, which is a very powerful tool that is an iterative process in which we try to understand our target audience, redefine our problems, and see how we can solve these problems. She also introduced me to Miss Cheadle, who was the after school program coordinator of Ravenswood Middle School, which was an underserved middle school in East Palo Alto. I worked for 4 months, taking feedback from two teachers and 60 students from the school, and I interviewed several students very informally, trying to understand what their interests were. And the result was a 9-week program that included STEM workshops, career speakers, Kahoots, and really interactive sessions. Some of the speakers that were involved in the first session of Jobs for Tomorrow were an astrobiologist from NASA who helped the students design their own uh, prototype rover, and a networks engineer from Facebook who talk to them about how network cables are laid in the Pacific Ocean. And after all these sessions, it was really amazing to see these students get involved and interact with all the new products that were presented at the event. And most of all, having them enjoy these different things during the session. Yeah. Since 2018, I've organized 42 live professional led STEM talks, webinars, workshops, and panels in East Palo Alto, Mountain View, Ghana, Zimbabwe, India, and Haiti, and 54 countries in Africa through the African Science Buskers Festival. The African Science Buskers Festival, in tandem with Jobs of Tomorrow and all these countries, has impacted over 7,000 students in 4 continents. Um, when I first started Jobs of Tomorrow, I ran it as an after school program at Ravenswood Middle School in East Palo Alto, and the year after at Crittenden Middle School in Mountain View. And when we were in lockdown in March, I had to rethink the way I could continue to run this program. Local schools are finding it difficult to accommodate it as an after school program due to COVID restrictions. And that's where I connected with Mr. Knowledge Chakundi of Zimbabwe. And that's when JOT went global. I designed a program for Zimbabwean students who had access to just the WhatsApp chat, but we made it happen. Over 10 weeks, 10 professionals from different states, ranging from New York, North Carolina, Arizona, and even to California, chatted with students about various STEM topics such as space exploration, biotechnology, chemical engineering, molecular biology, and virology. Although these students didn't have access to high speed internet, they were still able to learn about so many of the amazing STEM careers from all these wonderful professionals. In May 2020, I connected with Dr. Telius, Mr. Telius from Haiti, and we ran this program virtually from the one of the most poorest neighborhoods in Haiti. And this neighborhood was super dangerous and it was full of crime. But the 28 students were really motivated to learn about these careers. This program was ran in French Creole, and every presentation was translated. And for that matter, even one presentation was conducted entirely in French Creole. In August of 2020, I decided to organize a webinar for India, which lasted 3 hours. I streamed it live to around 1,300 students. And the speakers for that seminar ranged from the co-founder of a biotechnology company, one of the professor and chair of astronomy at University of California, Santa Cruz, and an associate professor at Harvard Medical School. All of the speakers were of Indian origin, and they shared their personal perspectives in the areas of specialization in this 3-hour program. In addition, I gathered 3 students and 3 teachers from schools and universities from America and India to share their thoughts and how they are staying motivated during these times with respect to STEM education. After that, I was also invited by Mr. Knowledge Shakundi to help participate in the African Science Busker Festival. Mr. Chakundi is the founder of this festival, and he is also the director of the Zimbabwe Science Fair. My organization was a sponsor of this festival, and I helped in gathering speakers for some of the seminar events. For example, Dr. Elizabeth O'Feely, who was the first woman president of the Association of Black Cardiologists, Dr. Iris Wagstaff, who is the STEM program director of the AAAS, the same chairman from UC Santa Cruz, Dr. Joe Bowler, a professor of education at Stanford University, Dr. Patricia Silveira, and Shreyansh Daftri. Over 5,000 students across so many countries, including Africa, the entirety of Africa, America, Brazil, UK, and even Southeastern Asian countries tuned in to listen to their STEM journeys and their interests and got inspired about STEM fields. I also led a workshop at this festival for over 5,000 students on artificial intelligence and healthcare. Honestly, I feel like I've enjoyed every single aspect of JOT, but I feel like the most memorable part of conducting this program was receiving all the feedback from the students and modifying the program to help fit their needs. I've been really grateful to be able to speak and connect with so many of the students about their motivations, backgrounds, and just getting to know them more. And through these conversations, I felt like I've gained a better understanding of the barriers faced by these students in pursuing STEM, such as a lack of knowledge of STEM field, lack of role models, and most importantly, the stereotype that they felt that they just couldn't do it. they thought they could never be a doctor. And so, for the Ravenswood students, I organized a session with Dr. Rao, who was a neonatologist at Stanford University. Not only did they enthusiastically participate in these activities, but they felt super confident. And after the presentation, I heard people saying, "I can become a doctor." In another example, um, there are students in Zimbabwe who are really curious about how the Mars mission works. And I contacted Dr. Doffrey, who was a NASA engineer, and he worked on the Mars Perseverance rover. And after that, a lot of students thought that it is possible, in fact, to become a person who's working with NASA. Um, but I think the most important batch of students that I've really worked with was Haiti. This is one of the most memorable moments I felt that I've seen during this program. Um, the Haiti students were in a hurricane during one of our meetings. Hurricane Isaias was a category, I believe, category 1 storm that was really close to Haiti. But um, and we were thinking about even canceling the program so that they would have time to prepare and recover from the hurricane. But they were really desperate. We were bringing in a woman engineer who was Haitian at the time, and they really wanted to learn about it. These Haitian students have never seen a woman engineer before. And after the first week of the program, after this program, many students in the initial survey told him that they wanted to pursue STEM careers. Yeah.
Interesting. What have you learned during your project that will continue to help you in the future?
Um, Working on JOT has taught me so many things. I think one of the most important things it's taught me is to be open and keep an open mind in unexpected situations. And this being flexible has really helped me adapt during the lockdown when I had to change plans and create a virtual version of Jobs of Tomorrow. Um, I also had to find out solutions to many of the unpredictable conditions that arose when volunteering. Um, During one of our Haitian sessions, the video connection kept dropping, and it happened for over 20 minutes. It just happened that the connection was not the best that day. So instead of finishing the session live, we had the guest speaker record her session um, and send it over to the students for a question and do the question and answer session over email. It was really difficult because I know how much the students really wanted to see the speaker. And it was really difficult because of the internet. And instead, we had to compromise. And I felt that this was the best way to go through this. And unplanned situations, they used to make me really uncomfortable and really nervous, but I've learned that I can use these as learning opportunities, and learning to be flexible has really helped me increase my confidence in this program, and it's made me a better person when planning for jobs of tomorrow. Yeah, so after conducting a remote STEM festival and organizing 6 STEM speakers in the African Science Buskers Festival, I was deeply touched when the founder of the festival sent me videos of students watching them in rural schools in the countries of Malawi and Zambia. These students did not have internet connectivity at home, so the schools actually opened for them during lockdown so that they could just watch the presentations and the workshops. It really touched my heart to see them getting so motivated and so interested. And one of the things that I learned from that is when students are so curious and into learning, there are no barriers. And there were so many other places where I saw this pattern emerge again and again when running the program. Um, in Haiti, many of these students are from they're from a very poverty-struck area, and by giving these opportunities to the students to see what can be possible, um, is super important. Um, if something does not exist and we think it's important, I learned that we just have to find creative ways to build it and try it and then hopefully achieve it. And sometimes these solutions may not be ideal, but it's we just have to make the best of what we can do in the moment. Um, yeah, I'm really drawn towards the STEM fields, and I feel like we can apply scientific and engineering principles to solve so many problems. One of the biggest examples of this is Google Earth. After Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans, through Google Earth, the first responders were actually able to see the exact locations in which people needed their help. And that's how Google Earth was able to save 4,000 lives during this hurricane. I feel that everyone should get an equal chance to experience what they can create or do with STEM. They should not get into this negative stereotype of STEM careers, and that I hope that students um, will not feel that STEM careers are out of their league because of the fact that there are no role models or they don't know enough about it, but most importantly, that they feel that they can't do it. By running programs in so many countries and talking to such a diverse set of students, I like the fact that students are bringing so many diverse perspectives, and really, these diverse perspectives are going to eventually contribute to better solutions. It makes me really think of things I couldn't have thought before, we couldn't have thought before. For one of the hands-on activities, for example, in Ravenswood, um, one student actually thought about having a device to produce oxygen from carbon dioxide. He did it because his grandmother was using an oxygen tank at home. He said it might be good if we can do it and if we can send people to Mars in the future and if we can implement this kind of technology. And that's a really great idea. And I was really amazed by the wonderful set of ideas that these students are making and that they're being really encouraged by this program. Yeah. So I'm a junior. I've started navigating through the college apps process. I receive a lot of help from my school, my friends, my parents, and it is not the most straightforward thing in the world, especially in America. There's standardized tests, essays, etc. And most importantly, because these most of these students are from poverty-struck areas, the biggest question they have in mind is how can I pay for these college and how can I get financial aid? And I want to help them through this program, motivate them to go to college so that they can pursue a STEM career, and that they'll be able to study STEM in college and they'll be able to overcome these financial barriers. But my biggest question for them is how are they going to navigate through this process? And how can they get the help and the resources that they have so that they can go to college? Most of these students are first generation students, and we need someone to help them so that they can address these issues of family income and everything. I started collecting resources for them from QuestBridge, College Match, etc., which connects low income students with colleges and helps them through the process. I'm also thinking if we can use the community, people who have gone through this process to help the students apply to college and be able to prepare for standardized tests, select colleges, and hopefully um, not think that because of their financial situation that they'll not be able to get into college. I really hope that these students will be able to pursue post-secondary level education at a university. I have so many things left to do. Definitely developing more STEM workshops, developing a program which can help these students in college apps. Hopefully, after the pandemic, organize office tours, and probably create even a specific program for disabled people. There are definitely so many professionals in the STEM industry that would really love to talk to us about their experiences. And I'm still thinking of these, and I definitely would hope that I can carry some of them out in the next couple of months or so. One thing's for sure, I definitely really want to continue this work. We have such a wide gap in underrepresented people. They only make 8 to 12% of the STEM workforce, and we really have to break the intergenerational poverty cycle for low income students. I really hope that with the help of STEM professionals, I really want to help keep having these career talks so that these students can get inspired about STEM and not see it as something outside their reach. I definitely hope that I can get more school students to help out with these activities. Um, and it would be really meaningful to me if we could get more people on board to spread the word about helping these low income students recognize their potential in STEM and possibly even pursue a STEM career.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for having me.